Tradies and contractors, listen up. I'm about to show you the exact system that we use for our clients to help them achieve consistent, manageable, and systemized growth. Now, off the back of this video, I'm going to run you through some processes. But first of all, I'm going to show you some actual results for the last couple of months that have literally just come in yesterday. So you get a bit of an understanding as to who this is for and some of the details that we measure. And then, as I say, I'm going to dive a little bit into some of the details around, the stakeholders that need to come into play for this to become a reality. A bit of an overview as to the system. So I will say this before we get started. This specific video is really targeted towards project-based trade businesses. So when I say that, I mean the likes of roofing companies, solar electrical, kitchen and bathroom renovations, and that kind of thing. So if you're kind of in that bracket, or you've got a service that is kind of similar to that in the project style, then absolutely this video is going to be super relevant for you. If you're more job-based, there's an equally as awesome program video that I've got in the description below. So go and check that one out if you're like a residential plumber or a Sparky or something along those lines. So as I mentioned, first of all, what I'm going to do here is I'm just sharing a screen with you and I'm going to run you through some stats. Now, at the time of recording this, we're the 5th of December. So these are for stats from October and November. And the reason I'm doing that is because I just want this to be current and recent for you guys, so you kind of get an idea of what this could look like for you into the new year. Now, I will say this, the whole premise of this program is to achieve growth with consistent and manageable behaviors. Now, we help our clients avoid the ups and downs of generating work because it doesn't really help you scale. What we want to do is make sure we have a system put in place which enables you to forecast growth and plan accordingly. Planning in the ways of things like when to hire next and so on and so forth. So this first example is a Australian-based solar company, and this is the numbers from October. Now, don't get too caught up in the actual call numbers and all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, as a result of what the business needs to fulfill their pipeline, so that can be relevant to you as a business. But for this business, they had here 225 phone calls, 66% of them answered, which is cool. I'm also not going to get too deep into the details and semantics around numbers on platform. That's a bit of a different topic, but stay tuned and subscribe to the Tradie Web Guys YouTube channel if you want to get more insights in relation to these things, because there's a lot more information coming out about that. I'd love for you guys to be across it, just so that, so you're managing expectations, you know what to expect if and when you do decide to go down the marketing avenue. So there was 123 new leads came in. And these details here, these won't mean a lot to you, but out of them, 107 quotes got sent, and 8 site visits were booked. And out of those 8 site visits booked, 8 deals got closed to a value of $152,000 for that month. So, and then there's some details on the actual projects here to give you an idea of project size, so on and so forth for the solar business. And so this is kind of where you should be at as well. If you're not like, with like you're a solar business and you're doing 5-10 grand sort of solar jobs, like these are sort of the numbers of our clients consistently getting, because of the fact that we're generating them branded leads, and we've got a full system in place which enables us to really do a great job of improving ticket size. In November, 220 calls, about half of them answered, half of them didn't, normal. Some of them new leads, blah, 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 84 quotes sent, 19 site visits booked. And out of the 19 site visits, 16 of those turned into closed jobs to a total value of $342,000. So it's a pretty big jump. And if we scroll down here, you'll see the monthly comparison from October to November with all of the percentage stats. I guess the thing that you really want to, the thing that sticks out to me, and this is, I'll touch on this a little bit when we talk a little bit more about the process, is the site visits to deals closed. It's an important number, and you'll see why when we get to that. This is another client of ours, a roofing company. You can see here 182, this is October, 182 calls, half of them answered, 33 quotes got sent out, 33 site visits got booked, and then 10 deals got closed to a value of $162,000. And here's some details on those projects. This is some November stats for you. 198 total calls, 76 new leads. Again, 32 site visits booked, 8 deals closed, $172,000 worth of work. And the monthly comparison here. So I guess the things that I really want to point out with both of these case studies is the consistency and the point that, like, if you look at these numbers here, they are trending in the right direction. Like they're sort of progressively going up. Now, this method to that madness, that doesn't happen by chance. And so when you're looking at these stats here and these numbers, you're going to need to understand that, like I said earlier, the whole point of this program is to create consistency. So keep that in mind. And if that's a constraint that you've had in the past as a trade business, it's very normal, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So for this whole system to basically prevail, there are some stakeholders that need to come into play here, and I'll run you through what they look like, because we do provide a lot of that for you, so you don't have to invest in team and all that kind of stuff yourselves, and that's the whole dynamic of it. So we have an account management team, which includes strategists, it includes media buying, creatives, technology, artificial intelligence, automations. There's a lead management team as well who look after all of the conversations that you're having, with your leads, so you don't have to worry about it. Essentially, then the job becomes for you as the client to get out there and close the job that, our team puts you into the appointment. So that's where the site visit conversation becomes super relevant. So what I'll say to that is, for this to work effectively, if I jump up here and have a look at some of these numbers for like the call activity, for example, total calls, like that's a lot of calls for a month. It's a lot of, and for these calls to get answered, we are contacting them, our team is contacting those leads on your behalf, up to 30 times before they close that opportunity off. So the point of that conversation is it does take a lot of work and time in order to make sure that those leads do progress to the next stage of a, say, discovery call or whatever it might be. However, it is also time that we don't think is best spent by you. We would rather you're out on site on road days that we book out for you doing site visits. And so the whole focus of this is to value your time better and make sure that you are out there doing the things that are going to help your business move the needle, which triaging leads is really not it. So we do all that stuff for you, from lead generation right through to lead management, and then we place you into the site visits with leads that are pretty well ready to go. And if you want proof on that, the numbers from site visits to deals closed. I mean, truthfully, this is a one in three scenario here, which is probably needs to be a little bit better. So there's some sales training that's got to happen there with their client, which is fine. That's normal as well, especially when they're bringing new team members on, which they often do. And then down here, if I'm looking at these, the site visits to deals closed, like they're pretty much nailing most of them now. So that is very healthy. And the point of that conversation is we don't want you going out to site at all unless we know you're going to be closing that deal. And that's what the whole program is geared around, and all our training within the program. So like I mentioned, this, to give you an overview of the actual system itself, like essentially this system specifically is really tailored towards project-based trade businesses. So like I mentioned, solar roofing, home renovations, kitchen, bathrooms, that kind of thing. And the goal, the outcome is consistent, manageable, systemized growth. Now, again, we want to avoid the ups and downs that typically comes along with marketing, where you spend all this money on ads, you get all these leads, you can't service them, you're blowing all this cash, or maybe you land a couple of big jobs and then you can't fulfill any more work. Like, that's not what we want. We want consistency, and we want it to be manageable. So the whole thing starts with strategy, and we call it our impact roadmap session. And it's the first part of the conversation that we have with any client whatsoever. They always do the impact roadmap. And the reason that we do that is because we need to be on the same page, and we need to help identify for both you guys and us what the goalposts look like. Now, if you say we want to be this business in 12 months, that's fine, as long as we have milestones that can help us get there. And as you can see, those milestones are the things that help us create this consistent growth within the campaigns. So that is a very, very important part of it. And also it's something that recurs, which we'll get to in a little bit. So once we go through the strategic session and everyone's on board, the next thing is laying the foundations. So we've got to make sure that we have the technology set up which can help us maximize the lifetime value of those leads and of those contacts, and then hopefully, inevitably, the customer, if they become a customer. However, one thing you do need to put into consideration is if your business is subjected to sales cycles that are quite long, and typically speaking, these verticals can be anywhere from, 2 weeks up to, to a year or beyond, depending on the project size and the ticket size. Like, you want to make sure that you have technology set up in a way that can maximize those leads. Sometimes those opportunities will not be right for those individuals at that point in time, but that does not mean that those leads are bad. It just means that they're not ready yet. We need to integrate our artificial intelligence. We need to deploy automations. We need to set up systems, and we need to, where necessary, deploy team members into your business. So we actually, once we start running ads and things like that for you and your lead volume goes up, we will deploy humans, Australian humans, into your business to manage those leads. And that is why these results are so strong, because that is all they do. They just manage the leads for you, and they primarily work on commission on jobs that you close, which is why that program is so successful, because everyone has that incentive of getting you closing work. Now, the campaign, after that, we go into campaign launch, which basically is where the account managers and the media buyers and all of those stakeholders over in that part of the business look into things like competitor research, your offer creation, concepts, designs, creatives, video creatives, and all these kind of things. And they go and deploy that into like media buying and so on and so forth, so that we can start generating you as qualified lead as we can into the technology that has been set up in the foundational stage in the beginning. So then that way, all of the leads that are being generated are being pulled into the system that's been set up for you, so that straight away from the get-go, all of your leads are being managed the best way possible. And then once that is underway, that is kind of the circle of the campaign running, and everything loops back every 4 to 6 weeks into another impact roadmap session where we address the numbers and we say, okay, well, what's the next thing? So if we hit these targets, and truthfully speaking, like, we tend to hit them quite fast, because once you plug this system into a business and we know that it works, things do tend to move pretty quickly. So normally the next conversation off the back of that is in relation to scale. And scale can mean more, it can mean less, it can mean we need to add team, it could mean we need training, it could be a number of different things. But essentially what we want to try and crystal ball is, what does scale look like for your business? And this is why the Impact Roadmap session is so valuable, because it speaks to that specifically and enables us to forecast that with some really good data backing it. So for example, you need more leads because you've got a new team member that you've put on board. That's fine, as long as we understand that, we plan for it, we budget for it, and then we can deploy it. And so that's a really good example of one of the first bottlenecks that typically businesses run into with this program. And we know it is, so we plan for it. But of course, it's once we start, generating all these leads and booking out these jobs, then inevitably you're going to need more team. And so that is a recruitment conversation. And so we need to make sure that we get those things moving before we need them. We need to be proactive. So if you like that general concept, and if you think that that is relevant to your business, then fantastic. Just head across to tradiewebguys.com.au and book yourself in for a conversation. We need to vet you, and we need to make sure that it is a right fit. And obviously as well, when we're deploying team, resources are limited. Now, I don't say that as like some sort of cheesy, time-sensitive thing. It is people putting you into your business, so there is obviously limited resources. The good news is, from next year, we're deploying a lot more of those, so we have capacity to bring new clients on, and we're looking for the right type of businesses that want to actually do the work and get the result. So head across to tradiewebguys.com.au, and we absolutely look forward to having a chat with you one way or another. Our Impact Roadmap session is the first step and the most important part of the puzzle. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope that gives you some inspiration and some belief as to what is possible, and we look forward to chatting to you soon.